Howdy, I'm with Jim. Worked for the con, you heard the cats, you were lucky, you took a break from the chaos to come and share your story with me. And I'm honestly excited to hear it because, as I was just saying, I've always wondered about the people who make the magic happen, who are in the background, who deal with all the drama that happens really selflessly, really. It's like, I really thought about it because like so much stuff happens with cosplayers who are just so focused on themselves. People focus on their own groups, and here you all are making sure that the gears keep spinning, that everything's going smooth, and helping all these people deal with their crises and keep moving. So, can you tell me what you do here?
I'm the head of registration. I've been running registration at AnimeNext for this is my 8th year. And before that, I was the second for registration in 2009. And then the year before that, I was the tournament director for video games.
Okay. So, how did you get into helping out at cons and getting this position, being in this sort of role?
As far as helping out, I have a couple friends who I would love to know how they got started. But it was I had two friends who were running video games at basically our sister convention, AnimeNext, which was a much smaller convention. And they needed some help, so I was asked to come in and work as a volunteer, which is it's weird calling volunteers because all of us on staff, we are volunteer staff. Nobody makes a cent off of this. We do everything, we just give our own time. And because we enjoy making these things work and seeing all this stuff come together. And but I helped out as what's considered volunteer staff, which means I was an attendee that spent my time working for the convention as opposed to being on staff and actually functioning as staff with the any privileges that there may be. But that's where I got started, and then between that and my girlfriend at the time asking me to work at another convention while I was volunteering at that first one, it's just grown over the last, it's got to be almost 12 years now since I started staffing conventions almost.
What keeps you coming back, though?
There's very few places where you can go, where, especially with my department, where you can stand around and meet 10,000 people or more in a single day with all sorts of different stories, all sorts of different ages and demographics, and all have the same idea. We're coming here to have fun. And the work that I put in, I like being able to get everyone in, have them start the convention, because I've always viewed registration as we're the first impression, we're the front line of everything, because they deal directly with us first. And we keep them we get them happy, they go to the rest of the convention happy, and it kind of balloons from there.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's just fun. I get to still do a lot of the things that I like to do, see a lot of people that a lot of times there's a lot of friends of mine I don't see outside of conventions.
I totally understand.
And so I get to see these friends, I get to hang out with them, but I also get the sense of accomplishment of helping to make something happen and help other people have a good time.
Sounds wonderful. That really does. So, do you have any fond memories of a con that you helped out at it and you just felt maybe this feeling of accomplishment when it all came together, or maybe you've helped someone out over the years and it's just that's why I do this?
I always get a feeling that at some point during one of these weekends that I work, because once again, there's thousands of people.
Yes.
There's a lot of things happening. Something will go wrong. And with my position, it's a managerial position, which means the problems get pushed up to you, and it's your job to take care of them. And when you can do that, and people leave, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so very much," and there's just all this gratefulness coming out of them. You're like, "This is why I do this." It makes me feel good to help others feel good when they're here, and help just contribute to an overall positive feeling at the convention.
Awesome. So you do this for a while. Is there something you wish attendees knew or understood before they, like, in cons? Because as I was just saying before we rolled and stuff, like a lot of these conventions, a lot of people are focused on themselves and their small groups, and sometimes they're on their communities and stuff. And all too often, a lot of people just don't think about the staff. Now, is there something you wish would come across that, like, people would be a little more think more before they talk to the staff, or something that you wish you can just impart on the community?
A lot of the conventions, especially the anime conventions, there are some conventions that they're for-profit conventions that have paid staff. As far as I know, all the anime conventions I have attended, but I believe all the anime conventions I know of, the staff is all volunteer. We get nothing out of this, outside of, honestly, we get a badge, they give us a room. Some cons, depending upon how big or small,
A room we share too, sometimes.
A room we share. I'm a department head, and I'm pretty high up on the chart, because above me literally is the vice chairs and the chair, and that's it. So I'm on like the third tier down from, like 2 tiers down from the top.
Yeah.
I have 2 roommates. I have 3 roommates in my room. So and that's normal. A lot of times we've got 3-4 people in a room, so we've got a shared room, which some conventions you pay for somewhat anyway. Some conventions, depending upon the size, some will feed you, some may not feed you as much. Some have some you can get snack. There's places to get snacks during the day, but that literally is just about the full list of perks that you get. So we put in a lot of time. We're expected to put in, at most cons, about 20 hours of work. And a convention, it's 2.5 days. We start at, we go like maybe 9 to, well, here it's 9 to 2:30 on Friday, 9 to 2:30 on Saturday, 9 to about, like, our final event stops about 5 on Sunday. So it's a little over 2.5 days.
Yeah.
We're expected to do about 20 hours. That's the equivalent of 2.5 days during the standard work week. So we're putting in, and a lot of us put in a lot more than that, because we want things to run well, we want things to succeed, we want people to be happy, we want them to go home and tell their friends, and have their friends think, that sounds really good, that sounds fun. Maybe I think I may want to join you next year. And it's just this growing in the community.
Makes sense. A little while ago, I talked to someone who was a con staffer, and I was hearing stories similar to this, and it never hit me before that the passion behind all of this, I thought there were some con volunteers. I didn't think much further beyond that. I thought they were mostly employees and stuff, or hired local labor who just were there for one shot. I don't know. I just didn't bother thinking about this. I come from, I've done other conventions where it's either college students nearby, but I never thought more. I spoke to one con staffer, and the passion that came through kind of hit me like, wow, they are like regular con goers. A lot of them started off as con goers, and like you said, somehow their friends rope them in, and those people rope more people in, and
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times they did it because, well, all my friends are volunteering at this con. I want to go to this con, but I want to hang out with my friends. I'll volunteer and work. And then they all shared it. They were able to be with their friends, not just hanging at a con, but giving back to the con while still being with the people they are friends with. And that was just kind of beautiful to me. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to like tell this little story, because when I learned it, I was like, that's great. And it hit me like, wow, how many attendees were able to know that, like, oh, they're just like us, they care enough like us, they're just as much a fan as we are. And it made me stop and look at everyone around and like, wow, you should be really thankful to these guys. They're helping you out. Or when I see some cosplayer or like someone else at other conventions being like, you know, they're putting in time here, they're not even getting paid. And I'm like, I saw this whole other side of it and like, wow. So that's why I'm excited you came out today and you're sharing some of your story, because I love that you do that. You're taking your own time, you're spending your own money. A lot of people spend their own money to do these things, and it's wonderful. So thank you for your work.
I'm honored to be able to help with the convention and help everyone here just have a good time.
I've been to, for a couple of years, we've been covering video game events, events in the Javits Center. We've traveled around the Northeast a while for some other things. And I swear, the best run events I've seen so far have been these cons. And not lying, the very best run event I've ever been to was actually last year and this year at AnimeNext. You all blew my mind how well organized this was. Like, you've just, way better than Katsucon, way better than PAX East, way better than most game cons. Everything was on point. You had the right signs, your staff gave a damn, and that's one of the things I love a lot. I've been to too many cons where it's like, I don't know, it's not my job. It's like, really? Do you know where I can find, are already signs up? Oh, wait, they didn't put them up. I don't know, I'm just here. I get that at a lot of things, but then, and it's one of the reasons I fell in love with the cosplay community, because not only the community is welcoming, but so is the staff, so are a lot of the things. So the people behind it and the event, they run better, the people care behind it, and all of a sudden my main focus now is covering cosplay stuff, because like you're saying, just as much as you all love like spending time with your friends and seeing something else, I kind of want to shine a light on this beautiful culture of people that I've just discovered and in love with right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that they do stuff that a lot of times don't notice. Like a great example is we have a tech staff that, to call these people workhorses it's an understatement. They're the people that help. They do all the sound and the lighting work with our events, everything from the masquerade, which, you know, being our biggest event, all the way to the smallest panels at, like, you know, at the weirdest hours. They're still responsible, because you need things like, you need cameras for things, you need microphones, you need, you know, lighting and speakers and everything, and
It has to all work.
they're operating. I was lucky to I stopped in to visit a friend of mine during the dance last night, and you know, he works on the tech crew, and I'm standing there, I'm like, I'm looking at all of this equipment in front of me. I'm like, I have no idea what any of this does, and I am afraid to come within 5 feet of it for sake of breaking it. And they're just like, okay, and this, okay, this is, okay. And watching all of that happen, and getting to interact with them also at some of the other events I do, where, like, for example, for the masquerade, the tech staff, they're doing lighting cues for these skits, which it's for those that don't know, the masquerade, it's basically an amateur skit competition. And each person usually has pre-recorded audio, and they have to go over with the tech staff, you know, when the audio starts, you know, to make sure that it works, what kind of lighting they may want. And these guys are, just for that event alone, may have, you know, 20, 30 or more different sets of instructions that they're following from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And these guys are doing it all day long. Because they're doing like just to use our main events group, we have the masquerade. We have bands that are in there. We have a pair of concerts here. We've got I'm trying to we've got the dances. What were some of the other things that were in events that I can't think of right now?
No worries.
It's been
You
been
you have a
long
lot
day.
of stuff, and
Yeah,
I was lucky enough to be allowed to walk in as they were setting up some of these rooms, and just
Oh.
seeing the way it all comes together.
Yes.
And honest to God, this is why I'm like I love AnimeNext since like my time last year, and why I'm still recommending your con even more after this year is like, it's just, I have not seen people losing their mind over something. If there is chaos, it is very well controlled, and I was seeing rooms being put together, and they're taking a few pictures, and some guy's like, I should let you take pictures, but you're okay. I'm like, all right, well, thank you. And I'm seeing this thing together, and it's going really well. And I've been to other cons, and this place, I see the extra little touches you do, like you're saying for the sound, for the skits, how you're giving them different lighting, different music. I've been to other places, and that doesn't happen. Go on, do it next. Go on, do it next. And here, it's an event. That line that was forming out there, people who know they're expecting a damn good show, and I'm damn sure they're getting it tonight. So your work as a fan is being very appreciated.
And one of the great things is also, one of the things that I kind of like from, once you've been working with the convention for a while, sometimes as you go, you start seeing the behind the scenes a little more and whatnot. And, nothing, we're a 3-day convention. We're not going to have everything go off as expected. Things will happen. Sometimes a guest gets sick on like the Wednesday before the convention, they have to cancel, or there's an issue with somebody on the way in, or there's maybe a technical issue with some, and things get changed, things get moved. One of the best examples was an event we had today. We had Cosplay Pro Wrestling.
Oh, yes, that was moved to the main area.
That was supposed to be in, if I remember right, in main events.
Yes.
And because of an issue with a technical issue another time, that was going to have to be moved to another area, and then they decided, let's move it to like the main atrium area. And as far as I know, that last decision was, it wasn't something that we thought of like a week and a half ago. That was last night, if not this morning. And that happened, I was on my way to lunch when I saw it. And there were hundreds of people all over the place watching and cheering and reacting and loving all of this. And we ended up having to make these changes on the fly. Like, there's things like, I'll use our tech staff again. Sometimes a piece of equipment breaks. It happens. It's going to happen at some point. And they have to figure out how to work around that, fix it, replace it, and continue going and not miss a beat.
Yeah.
And that happens in so many different departments where, okay, well, this isn't working right. Well, let's do this. Like, I've had to make a number of changes during, just from registration where like, okay, these people are waiting too long. Let's do this, and that way we can help them better and faster. And it all comes together in the end, and it's that sense of accomplishment. And knowing that the people that you're working with, like I know a lot of our staff, a lot of our heads especially, it's not the fact that it's like it's me and okay, this group of people below me. It's like me and the rest of the people that are in my department. I just happen to be the one that that organizes the jigsaw pieces of a puzzle that's constantly changing.
Yeah.
And there's no one that's just, it's like no one is above anyone else as far as from staff, and we're not above. And almost all of us started by going to these cons. You mentioned that earlier. That's why I started. I mean, I started going to these things because I was a gamer, and then I met people and I started doing cosplay, and I entered some events, and then I ended up helping out with all sorts of departments across a whole bunch of conventions. And it's just all these little things that you find out over time with, with how everything works together. And it's amazing to see how all the pieces slowly fit together over the course of the year. And right as it comes to the convention, it all just like almost locks right in. And but also we've been lucky that I really feel we have just this amazing set of people across so many disciplines, and they know what they're doing. They have faith in the people that are, well, for lack of the people that are above them organizationally, and the people that they're in charge of. They know that they can go do this, and that person will do it and do it properly. And it's all the way from people that have been doing this for 10, 12 years to, a lot of times people that this is their first year. And it just all really fits together nicely. And I mean, we've been lucky and blessed, I think, to have such a good group of staff to put this all on.
I mean, it's amazing. It sounds great, and so far, as a fan, I love it. And you mentioned something this morning, though, the Cosplay Pro Wrestling. I came in, I was running late this morning, and right where I was supposed to be doing my interviews, there's a line going to a ring. I'm like, that has such good light and power that I can siphon off of. And at first, I was a little annoyed. But then, as I come in and I see everyone, those hundreds of people, you say, all just around the ring, so excited, and they're like, this is actually really cool. This is actually really cool. And then it got grander, because then I looked up, and on every level, even as time passed and we got closer to the event, more and more people started looking down and random chants and cheering. And all of a sudden, Atlantic City Convention Center turned into this big arena. This big, booming arena. And for the time, like a little before it started, and then during the event, all eyes were on this one part. And everyone just stopped their cosplay stuff to take it in, because everyone wanted to see what everyone else was enraptured by. Everyone, even people who weren't wrestling fans, were having fun watching everyone else. It was actually a really great event, and I was like, I'm happy. I'm not even trying to do interviews now, because I don't want to take anyone away from this. And I just stopped and gawked myself and took some pictures, because, although it was a mistake, I think next year it maybe should be there, because I feel like it brought the whole con together for that bit. And that normally would have been, like you said, in a back room, forgotten. I think I had cosplay wrestling in a few events, and I've always missed it. Having it happen there, it was a wonderful central event. What a wonderful mistake to have. A problem, whatever. Or a future feature, because everyone loved it.
One of the great things is where we are, the Atlantic City Convention Center. The staff of the convention center, these are the paid staff that work for the building, are amazing. They're a joy to work with, and they are constantly willing to work with us to help us put on the best show that we can put on.
This is the very best venue I've ever been to. I take this over the Javits Center. I take this over Boston. I take this over a lot of places, because your lighting is perfect. The rooms are ginormous, but have great HVAC. The lighting is wonderful. I mean, everything. This is the best place I've been to. And I had to start talking to some of the building staff myself when I started setting up my interviews this time, because I didn't want to rub on any toes. And everyone I spoke to was so professional and nice. And I was given to the person in charge. She's like, whatever you want to do, as long as it's not in the way. Gave her my ideas. That's fine. If anyone bothers you, let me know. It's like, thank you very much.
I was talking with her earlier.
And it was funny, because I think Chris mentioned that this was under the purview of like a separate organization. And I was like, okay. And I was a little worried because sometimes it's going to be button heads, or sometimes I've been to events where the people hosting it aren't happy about it. Nope, they were just wonderful.
I have seen that at events where they're like, where there have been, organizational people of the location that
Yeah, yeah.
they don't seem to have, the idea of, they don't understand the community and don't try to understand the community.
Yeah, it's more of a hassle for them, and they don't want to. They don't even want to accept that this could be fun. They just want to be like annoyed. But I don't see that here,
Yeah.
and I love the space. And the little interaction I had today was just. Yesterday. It was so professional. It was so nice that I just hope more stuff happens here because I'm from Manhattan. It is a bit of a pain to come all the way down here and rent an expensive hotel.
I live right across the water. I know what you're talking about.
And honestly, but once I'm here, I'm happy. So I'm willing to deal with the hotel drama. I'm willing to come down a few hours. This is awesome. So I have to say, once again, thank you for everything you've done, for all your hard work, and for sharing your story with me. Because this right here is the sort of story I want to tell. But I'm going to ask one more question of you. What do you look for for staff? Who do you want to join your ranks, and what would you like to let them know beforehand, besides that it's not all play?
Well, as far as staff, one of the great things is we actually have at the convention almost a way of, I don't want to use the word vetting, but giving people that may be interested in staffing, giving them an idea of how things work from a perspective outside of the general attendee perspective, like a little peek behind the curtain. And that's with our volunteer program. So people who, you come and the convention, it runs like the first 2 days. It runs for, let's see, it's 9 to 2 because I like round numbers. So that's a 17-hour span of time. You're not going to be busy for 17 hours. So you may have 2 or 3 hours, and some people go, let me help out. And they talk to our volunteers coordinator, and they're sent to do things, maybe help out con safety or help us out of registration with, some of the things that we need to do that, like with registration, we have these bags that everyone gets that has the program guide, has the schedule, it has, whatever else is going to be in it. You need people to put these together where it's literally just take a guide, take a schedule, put in the bag, lather, rinse, repeat a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
But get it right.
But, so we can have these people do this, and they get to sit around and talk and meet people and see how things work from a different perspective. And we see how these people work, and a lot of times we take note of them if they are good. I had a staffer last year. Don't have them this year. They moved to a different department, but they've come back and helped on and off. But it's somebody who they'd been volunteers for the last 2 years as well, and they did such a good job. At one of our previous years, we mentioned about liking to take some of our new staff from our volunteers that do this, where they give just small amounts of time usually. And what I was amused at was at the feedback meeting at the end of the convention, and as one of the other staffers was talking about this, I saw this person in the crowd, and I literally just went like this and just stared at them. As I talk about getting these people from volunteers, and I'm just looking them in the eye. And I'm like, And eventually, they couldn't the next year for reasons, but when they became staff, I was like, that's my number one draft pick. I want her. But
And then someone came and poached them.
actually, they wanted to work with their boyfriend, who is
Okay.
also a first-time staffer,
Oh.
but who also came and helped me a number of times
Okay.
this year. So you start, it's one of those things where, like you mentioned, where people come with their friends or with their girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever, and they, they're like, oh, so you do this, so let me, I'll join you and hang out for a weekend and while we're doing some work, which a lot of times, sometimes it doesn't feel like work. That's the thing. You go to work and you go there and it's 8 hours and you feel like this, and you come here and it's vibrant, it's active, it's fun, and and it's that's how we end up getting so many people. Like we have for those that are attendees, we give them that guide, and there's a page in there that lists every single person that works for this convention. All 300 something that are putting this on. Everything from, like I say, our convention chair to the vice chairs and the department heads, but every single person in every single department. And those are like I said, the little pieces that put everything together that get this all to work, and we have fun doing this. It's a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun. Because if it wasn't, I wouldn't have been doing this for 10 years in a row. Especially coming down, you mentioned being from Manhattan. I'm from Bayonne. It's a little over, it's 2 hours from where I live to get down here. And I've worked other conventions where it's been even more travel, 3, 4, 6, 7 hours. But it's fun from the fact of being able to interact with such a good community of people, but also have that sense of accomplishment of creating something and seeing like the finished products come together and watching other people enjoy what you've created. So it honestly, it's a great time for so many of us.
That's awesome. Thank you, man. I really appreciate
All
it.
right. It's my pleasure.
My pleasure as well.